So up next, we have Kinds of Kindness. We saw this last week from director Yorgos Lanthimos, Kinds of Kindness, a triptych fable telling 3 different stories. That is what a triptych fable is. The first, The Death of RMF, follows a man without choice who tries to take control of his own life. The second, RMF is Flying, a policeman who is alarmed that his wife, who was missing at sea, has returned and seems a different person. And thirdly, RMF Eats a Sandwich, a woman determined to find a specific someone with a special ability who is destined to become a prodigious spiritual leader. So yeah, I mean, all in all, Kinds of Kindness is kind of this black comedy that sort of comes in at nearly 3 hours in length and is split into 3 loosely linked stories, all featuring a core cast of actors, including Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, Willem Dafoe, and Margaret Qualley, amongst a couple of others. So, Clara, Kinds of Kindness, thoughts?
I didn't love it.
Didn't love it? Okay.
I felt like, to give it its due, it was like a bit of fun that they all shot after doing Poor Things.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was quirky, it was weird.
I think they actually shot this before. But sorry, just
okay. I mean, you know, it was a little bit of fun they shot while doing Poor Things. But to be honest, no, I didn't enjoy it. I feel like it was what I feel like a lot of younger filmmakers make the mistake of not having like a clear narrative voice. Right. And making everything sort of symbolism. Yeah. And, you know, how twisted can we make the plot and what can we throw in to shock people? And I felt a bit like, I don't know, I left this film feeling very disgusted and empty. Maybe that was the point. I mean, I'm sure it was the point.
I want to get into the disgusted thing in a bit because me and you had an argument in the car after
this. Yeah, we
did.
But like, I just felt, I don't know. I guess I watch films because I enjoy empathizing with people and living, like, having a form of catharsis through living through someone else. I want to see art that's beautiful or meaningful. And I felt like this was really just horrible people doing horrible things in an artsy way. And I wasn't a fan.
Interesting.
Acting was good.
The acting was good. The cast is really great. I think that's like, I think anyone would probably agree with that. I'm a bit mixed as well on this. I feel like I'm not sort of as, I'll say, offended as you.
I'm not offended.
I know. But no, I quite, you know what? I was kind of expecting to walk out of this film and feeling like, what was the point of watching that? But I weirdly don't. There is some sort of like, I don't want to say it's satisfaction, but I'm happy. Not obviously the stories themselves, but I'm saying like the fact that I watched the film, the fact that nothing else in cinemas is quite like this, that in of itself for me it was quite refreshing to see that. And also because this is an acclaimed director like Yorgos Lanthimos, my question to you would be like, I've sort of struggled with this question of itself, but like, should filmmakers, you know, after they've had sort of rearing success over the years, should they be allowed?
Oh yeah,
not say allowed to, but like, I think sort of because you know, like, compare this to Poor Things. This is nothing like Poor Things. You know, Poor Things is definitely way more narrative and thematically sort of rich and concise. This is kind of very much more sort of experimental cinema, you know, telling 3 different stories with the same kind of cast interchangeably, which I actually kind of like.
I thought that
I like
was fun.
that kind of approach to this film. It feels different. It gives the actors themselves a real sort of chance to kind of play different characters in the same film and kind of have like a bit of fun. I do agree with you. I don't feel like this, I mean, I think it's meant to be ambiguous, and I don't think that you're supposed to arrive at any sort of concrete conclusions. And I think that Yorgos Lanthimos is definitely more interested here with more kind of metaphorical and kind of ambiguous sort of elements, as opposed to, you know, narratively kind of concise storytelling here.
Just to come back to what you were saying about should directors, I think I have no beef with Yorgos Lanthimos for like making this film. I think, like I said, it was a bit of fun, he did it or whatnot, but like, as someone who's like talking about their enjoyment, I didn't enjoy it. And that's okay. I don't have to enjoy it. But I think like it'd be fun if directors were given the opportunity to have some more fun and experiment a bit more. Just because I didn't like this one doesn't mean I wouldn't like a different experiment.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think it's pretty like, You can just see from, if you've seen like the press at Cannes and whatnot, Yorgos Lanthimos, Emma Stone, they're definitely so much more like, it's not even like a I don't give a attitude, but they're so much more playful and like kind of like, oh yeah, well if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. If you don't, you don't. With Poor Things, it was very much, this is the kind of story we're telling. You know, much more sort of focused on that in that sense of the word. This one is kind of like the after party in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to sort of briefly go on to, because you said you didn't enjoy it and we had an argument in the car after the film. Do you want to just kick that sort of
so I guess the one thing that like I said before, I have no beef with Yorgos Lanthimos, make the film, have fun, The only thing about it that did actually rub me the wrong way a little bit is I feel like I really defended Poor Things in my mind, or out loud, I don't know, with a lot of the criticism it was having about being sort of male gazy and really sort of almost like using Emma Stone in that way. I felt like, although I wouldn't necessarily go it's a feminist film, I felt like it was fun, it was said interesting things about shame and our bodies and all of that, and because the story was about that and it was about sex, there was a lot of naked people on screen a lot of the time, and yes, Emma Stone is a like gorgeous woman, and so maybe a bit male gazy, but also, you know, that's the story. Do you know what I mean? So I had no issue with it for doing that. Whereas I did feel like with Kinds of Kindness, there was a lot of like Emma Stone, Margaret Qualley. What was the other woman we were just saying before?
Hunter Schafer. Like just a lot of like some of the most gorgeous women acting today. And it was a bit like, was that really necessary? It felt a bit like, I kind of want to have her in this shot. Let's have them like get undressed, and it just felt a bit like just for the aesthetic, and I feel like I don't know, I feel a bit over that, as like, do we really need to be using women's bodies as aesthetic anymore? Is that just not a bit like, I feel like I'm done. But your point was basically, what you said to me was the shock value part of it. Yeah, I felt like it's like for someone who's like making art, and these were definitely very artsy films. Yeah. It was less about the narrative payoff and more about the artistic point about society or about cults or about power or about control and all of these things. And I feel like with someone that like clearly is thinking about all the nuances of each shot and the decision making behind that, it's definitely a clear choice to include it. And I would be interesting to ask him or to hear his take on why he felt like it was narratively what he should be doing in this moment. Or not narratively, but like why symbolically, because it was definitely symbolic, it wasn't narratively needed. Symbolically, why he made those choices, because I didn't see the point. Yeah. So other than for shock value. Right. So where I actually disagree with you on is you said about Emma Stone, you know, being this gorgeous woman, beautiful woman, you're a beautiful man, Mr. Wood. Emma Stone being this kind of, you know, a beautiful woman and kind of using that sexuality aspect to kind of almost like glamorize or, you know, shock value kind of in that way. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like he was definitely using it as the aesthetic of his film a lot of the time. Like, it wasn't necessarily narratively, maybe it was symbolic. I didn't understand the symbol, but he did make the choice to like have three women who are the archetype of beauty get undressed in his film. I just would be interested to know why, because for me, there didn't seem a point. And I'm a bit over people using women's bodies as the aesthetic of that film. Right. Okay. Aesthetic of the film, 100% agree. It's definitely an aesthetic choice. I don't feel like, where I agree with you is like, I don't feel like all the, you know, choices to use their nudity in the film pays off in any kind of narrative sense. I don't feel like it does. Like you said, right? What I think is kind of sort of, I don't want to say just, I think the thing is a bit more justified is because I don't think when he uses nudity, I don't think it is glamorizing. I didn't necessarily say glamorizing. I just feel like it is. So go on, just finish your point. Sorry. Well, I feel like Yorgos Lanthimos is a filmmaker who all his films are essentially examining the human condition or humans at their most raw, right? And I feel like all of his stories have that element to them to a certain degree. Like Tarantino loves blood, Nolan loves time, you know, except we could go on. Yorgos Lanthimos, he has this a need to sort of almost come back and explore humans in these bizarre ways and sort of put them in scenarios that reveal humans at their most raw. And I feel like, for me, I was kind of like, it wasn't surprising to me that he used so much. I'm not using it as a justification, but for me, like, it's not surprising at all that every, like, once in every, like, 10 shots, someone's naked, because it's Yorgos Lanthimos. Like, he uses nudity and stuff almost, like you say, like an aesthetic, and that's part of who he is, his filmmaker imprint. To not have that is to, like, say, like, Tarantino, don't use blood, you know, like, it's so, like,
I feel like if he wanted, I think that's an interesting way to make a film. I would love, that sounds weird, but I would love to see a film that was doing that, trying to expose humans at their most raw. I think what rubbed me the wrong way about this film is him showing humans at their most raw is using 3 young, like, slim, beautiful women who, again, are the archetype of beauty in our society at the moment.
Right.
That's not, like, I mean, big up to you, like, they're your natural bodies. I'm not saying anything against those women. It's just your choice to include that as the, like, rawness of humanity in your film.
So what you're saying is you find it interesting that the people he's showcasing also happen to be...
I don't find it interesting. I'm saying if that's who you're choosing...
Not interesting.
I think if that's who you're choosing to show the rawness of humans... That's not what you're doing. That's not what you're doing. Right? Let's not lie.
But he also shows Willem Dafoe naked. He also shows Jesse Plemons naked. With the greatest amount of respect to those 2 actors, they're not necessarily...
Yeah, no, exactly. They're not the archetype of beauty because he's a man. He's like, oh, we can show them naked. But if you're showing a woman naked, it has to be the most beautiful women. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, right. But so if he picks,
it can be like one naked old dude, fine. Because, like... But also, was Jesse Plemons naked in that film?
They was having a foursome sex scene.
Yeah, but you didn't see anything. I'm not saying that that's the wrong thing, but, like...
So is what you're trying to say, so you're like...
It's just a very... Like, what I found was I felt like it was a very male-gazy kind of a film. And that made me feel a bit uncomfortable thinking back to Poor Things and how I was like, no, but this was the story. And like I said, the whole point of the story was like this discovery of your body and sex and about shame. And it all made a point and it all made sense. And that's what he wanted to show and all of this kind of stuff. And I felt like the people that were saying, no, but this is so male-gazy were wrong. And now I look at this film and I'm a bit like, I mean, I know you can use different tools for each film, but I do look at this film and I'm a bit like, oh, okay, maybe.
I don't know. I just feel like with the difference here is Poor Things actually had purpose behind why the nudity was there. It had purpose in the story itself. It served as a storytelling device. Here, it doesn't really. That's the only thing I think. Whereas, like, yeah, sure, like there might be a bit of like excessive nudity here and there. And, you know, some of the people he's using, like you say, are like the epitome of beauty in society or whatever. But like, my thing is, I just don't, as a guy, just respectfully, I'm just saying, when I see, you know, Emma Stone or Hunter Schafer or Margaret Qualley naked, like, I don't think those shots are necessarily you're saying about how you find it peculiar or whatnot, that they are the ones in the limelight, but I feel like it could literally be anyone that he's shooting and it would have literally the same effect on me on me as a viewer, at least. Like, I don't find the decisions to use those specific actors to be necessarily like Yorgos Lanthimos.
It's not necessarily to use the specific actors, but to, like, I don't know, I just feel like,
I will be honest, I'm struggling a little bit to understand what you're picking out here specifically.
It's more just like, it's more just like, I feel like, it's the decision to like, it's the decision to get them naked all the time. That's the thing.
Right. Okay.
And to use that as an aesthetic of your film.
Right. Okay. So it's
everything I said before, to decide to use women's bodies and the archetype of beauty as the aesthetic of your film, I feel like, and try and pretend that it's raw and it's artsy when it's been done so often and by so many people, right back to the like painters in the olden days when they were just like being like, no, this is biblical and this means so much, and it was, no, we wanted to see that girl's tits. Gotcha. And it's like one of these things I'm just a bit like, oh, come on, like, let's not pretend anymore. Okay,
I understand with everything. I agree with everything what you're saying, except for the idea that it's meant to portray the being the archetype of beauty. I don't agree with that at all. I think when I watch Yorgos Lanthimos' films, I'm almost like, when I see a naked body, I'm always like, ooh, this I feel so cold and so detached from it, almost like how scientists look at things in a lab. Like it's kind of this you're looking at humans through like a microscopic lens in a way. I feel like there's such coldness there. I don't feel like those images are inviting as a viewer. I think it is such
it's objectifying.
No, I don't feel like it's objectifying. I feel like
But you just said they're like things in a lab. Like it feels like an object, not like a human that's behind them with emotions and feelings. It feels so detached.
Yeah, I feel like it's so detached because it's like he's examining them as opposed to to glamorizing them or like painting them in a sexual way.
It doesn't have to be sexual. It can still be an object without being sexual.
Yeah, sure, but I feel like the whole archetype of beauty thing. I don't see the whole beauty aspect, even in Poor Things. I'll be honest, even in Poor Things with the whole Emma Stone, I don't see that as him being like, oh, Emma Stone gets picked as the. I
don't think she was picked because of her beauty. That wasn't what I was saying. I just feel like just the pure fact of if you can watch a film where like, someone gets their out, I don't know why I'm creasing. And like, they clearly have a lovely, like a beautiful body.
Yeah.
Which is fine. And I'm not beefing them for having a great body. That's great. Amazing. Well done. Yeah. But I just like, you're then objectifying them and using, like, these are archetypally beautiful people in your film as aesthetic and as objects to make your film into something, whether it be artsy or whether it be something else, is played out and it's old and it's annoying.
So basically, essentially to conclude, your issue here is the personal preference of you're not sure, or you take issue with just the simple fact that Yorgos Lanthimos' interests are this. He uses this as one of the pillars, I would say, of his film, like examining, the anatomy of humans or like bodies and whatnot.
I also think it speaks to a wider trope of using beautiful women's bodies in your film as aesthetic and as objects and not explore their character or anything like that. And that happens all the time in films and in filmmaking and in art in general. And it's not an old thing. It is an old thing to do. It's not new. It's not interesting. And I think framing it in a way that's artistic or interesting is just wrong because it isn't anymore.
Okay, right. I understand what you're saying. I just think like what initially I took from your point was the idea that he's almost manipulating this. I think he's not necessarily probably even aware that that's how it's coming across. Maybe. But this is what I'm saying. This is where me and you differ, because when I look at those images, I don't have the same thoughts of you. I think that I feel uncomfortable. It's almost like when I feel like there's such a wide array of nudity in film. A lot, like in Maxine, let's say, nudity is obviously so glamorized, so over the top. You see like how, pornography is kind of from a consumer's eyes.
Something like Maxine is really interesting, I think, in the way it uses nudity. Not Maxine, Pearl and X.
Yeah.
Really interesting in the way it uses nudity, because there we're talking about playing with ideas of Pearl or of Maxine seeing their body as a way out, and that idea of that glamorization and seeing that as the way to gain power, or as your sexuality as a way to gain that freedom from being trapped. And is that, as it was seen in Pearl, this sort of empty promise, and actually she couldn't fulfill that even though she wanted to, and she was just one of many, and things like that. I thought those were all really interesting uses of nudity. I'm not against using female nudity in films, not at all. I'm against maybe I am against using like women's bodies just as a boring aesthetic of your film for no purpose, for no interest. And I just think it's not artistic and it's just old and I'm bored of it.
Okay, so that's
that's it.
Okay, fine. What's funny is I agree with a lot of your reasoning, but where I differ is...
But I think also I get personally offended by it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because I do think like all of my reasoning is correct and I should be offended by it. But I think why I see it and get offended by it is because like being objectified is something that affects me.
Yeah.
So like and seeing that trope played out by people who I respect as filmmakers and as artists and people who I think are interesting and insightful people frustrates me. And I think that's fair. And maybe I'll sit down and have a conversation with Yorgos Lanthimos sometime in another alternate dimension, and he explain it to me and me be like, oh, I see, I just totally didn't get it, and like da-da-da-da. But as such, this is my opinion.
Okay. I mean that's fair enough. That's what I think this is. It's like obviously I can't. I'm not a woman. I don't have a woman's body. And I'm not going to speak on behalf of women or you, but like that's obviously where the main difference is, and fair enough. Yeah. It's a personal preference and you don't necessarily always take kindly to those kind of decisions. Yeah. Completely fine. Yeah. Well, on that note,
I've wasted half the episode.
Okay, so I'm actually exhausted now. I can't lie. Well, on that note, we're going to play our second game of the episode. So this is a Popcorn Podcast classic. We've done a couple of these now, and people seem to actually be enjoying it. So the game is, has so-and-so starred alongside the following actors, and brownie points if you can let me know what films they have.
Okay, who's
so-and-so? The actor or actress of choice here is Emma Stone.
Okay, cool.
So, I
was really worried you were going to do like Willem Dafoe and I was going to get nothing. No.
So, has Emma Stone starred alongside the following actors? So, has Emma Stone starred alongside Viola Davis?
Yes.
Film?
The hell?
Correct. Yep. Okay. Yep. Okay, up next, has Emma Stone starred alongside Brad Pitt?
I really want to say yes, but I can't think of the film. Oh, I bet it's going to be really obvious as well. Okay, I'm going to say yes, but I don't know the film.
They have not starred in the same film together.
That was such a good one. Okay,
has Emma Stone starred alongside Austin Butler?
No.
They have not. Has Emma Stone starred alongside Zach Galifianakis? You don't know who that is?
No, I don't know.
It's the Alan from The Hangover.
Oh, okay.
The fat guy.
Yes.
Film? You don't even know who this actor is.
Superbad?
He's not in Superbad.
Oh, okay.
That's Seth Rogen.
Oh, shit.
And Jonah Hill.
No, I don't know.
They have, and they starred alongside each other in Birdman.
Oh, shit. I really liked Birdman as well.
Yeah.
But I didn't know who the actor was.
Has Emma Stone starred alongside Leonardo DiCaprio?
This is going to be another really obvious one. No?
They have not, no. Has Emma Stone starred alongside Emma Thompson?
Yes.
Film?
Don't know.
Cruella.
Yes, I've seen that film as well.
And finally, has Emma Stone starred alongside Timothée Chalamet?
No.
Correct, they have not. Actually, this is the final one. Has Emma Stone, this is obvious. Has Emma Stone starred alongside Ryan Gosling? And if so, which films?
Yeah, La La Land. Crazy Stupid Love.
There's one more. Can you get it?
I know it's gonna piss me off as well when I don't get this. I don't know.
It's Gangster Squad. I don't know.
Oh no, I would have got that.
Yeah. And also, fun fact: Ryan Gosling and Ken Kao, who's from The Nice Guys, they formed a TV and film production company called Arcana, and they production company produced The Favourite.
Oh, that's so cool.
So there you go.
I love The Favourite.
Anyways, guys, that was our discussion somewhat on Kinds of Kindness, and that was another game of Has So-and-so starred alongside. Let us know what you thought about Kinds of Kindness down below in the comments section.